I've got a pretty clean electric DI Televintage sound called up here, and we're going to look at the effects view in this video. So as we've spoken about earlier, there's an EQ, then a compressor, and then we have two configurable effects over here, and we configure them by clicking on these menus, and we can change the order of these by simply dragging by the handle on the left. And that's followed by a reverb at the end. And when we're in play view, we get a reduced set of the controls over here, and there's also an amplifier for electric guitars, which we'll look at in a couple of minutes. But back to the effects page over here. We have the EQ section, which is basic low shelf, and then two parametric or peak bands, and then a high shelf over here, fairly straight ahead. And we turn each of these effects on or off with these buttons, and the compressor also is fairly straight ahead. But there's routing possibilities here based on this sidechain and pre button. So with the compressor, when the pre button is in, the compressor is placed before the EQ and the signal path. So normally we have the EQ first, but when that's engaged, we have it first. And then the sidechain button disappears. Now with the sidechain button, when it's on, the signal from the output of the synth section is what is fed into the comp. And when this is off, the signal that's at the output of the EQ section is what's fed to the compressor input. Now the amplifier controls are only available in the play view over here, and we have channel 1, which is optimal for clean to semi-dirty sounds, and then we press that and we get channel 2, so it's a 2-channel amplifier, which is better when we want more of a stronger distortion by driving the drive control over there. And there's byte here for an optional high-end boost, and we have mid-range controls here. We control the level of that and then a low and high control. And the spring reverb can be turned on or off with that, and we control the mix there. And there's two different cabinet types, open or closed, that we can turn on or off with that. So let's put this to work. And I've got, as I say, a fairly straight ahead sound here. And I'm just going to tweak the modules and get them in an approximate shape. And then we'll look briefly at this middle section with the two configurable controls. So I can get a nice bright sound like that. So that's with the compressor before the EQ versus after it. And of course, we hear a drastic difference in tone here when this now feeds the compressor input. And let's dial in some amp settings. We turn the whole amp section off and on here. It's a nice bright sound without the cabinet. And finally, we have the configurable effects here. I'm not going to go through them all, but let's set up a sound that'll work for this. And I kind of like the wah-wah in that we can sync it to musical rhythms. I'll set it to maybe dotted quarter notes, and let's listen to that. So that's a little overview of some of the things you can do with the effects section. And of course, in play mode, you get some macro controls for some of the more important parameters of the other effects. So let's look at some of the main important points to remember. We have the EQ compressor, then two configurable effects, and then the reverb. And the configuration of the EQ and the compressor depends on the position of the sidechain and pre-buttons. And the order of the two effects can be changed by simply dragging them around. And there's a reduced set of controls in play view. The EQ is a basic 4-band EQ. Compressor, we can put it either before or after the EQ, and we can use the sidechain button to determine whether the output of the synth section feeds the compressor or the output of the EQ section. The amplifier controls are only available in play view, and channel 1 is better for a slightly cleaner sound, and channel 2 we can drive harder for more distortion. See you for more in the next video.